Good evening, Warriors, and welcome into another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hagan. And Robert, the madness of March is upon us, and I really don't even mean basketball.
No. Well, first of all, let's start with here. Happy Pi Day. I texted you earlier. It was going to be a crazy day at school, in which it was.
Of course, you're focused on pie.
Lord. Pi Day. I'm a big boy. You got to focus on a little bit of sweets every once in a while. But yeah, I don't know. It was kind of crazy last week. And first of all, let's talk. Thank you, Eric, for filling in last week. But I was just thinking about 10 minutes ago. I'm like,
okay,
we have talked more NFL off-season stuff this year than we have in a long time.
I don't think that's true.
But I'm just saying, just conversing though.
Well, yeah, because the Jets are involved in things.
Just about everything.
You can only go so far with the Jets are talking with an offensive lineman, and that's always what the Jets are going for, because their offensive line continues to suck.
Right.
But now I have stuff to talk about. Like, the Jets are hinting at doing things. Have they done things? Not well. They did one thing today, but hopefully that hints at other things. And meanwhile, your Ravens are not doing anything.
They already have released
the Kraken.
Campbell.
Wait.
No, we're not releasing.
I gotta see if I can make this work. Hold on.
Release the Kraken.
Hey, I got the buttons to work.
I don't know. They released Campbell. They think he's going to come back. I think they're just clearing cap space, which most teams do. They will do that. They'll clear the cap space and move things around just a little bit. So that's a big thing. But this whole Lamar saga is starting to get really exhausting.
You're having a lot of fun with it, though.
No. Let's just get it done, get it over with.
Now, we'll get to all of that stuff and so much more. First off, I do want to thank Eric Watkins for subbing in for me last week. I had to go over and covered some women's basketball first two rounds for the NAIA national tournament.
Did you see his shirt? He was awful wild in that shirt.
Yeah.
I was talking with...
It's stuff that I could not pull off.
I was talking to Nikki today about his shirt. I said, that was a wild shirt, wasn't it?
It's not even the wildest shirt, I'm sure.
No, it is probably not.
That's a tame shirt for Mr. Eric. That's for sure.
God, crazy. But what was cool is him and I talked a little bit that where he lives, he was only like 30 minutes from the TPC Sawgrass. I'm like, dude, why aren't you going over and watching the golf? But, hence, I don't think he's much of a golf guy. He's more of a live guy. We haven't even started talking about live stuff.
I'm done. I'm out. This is ruining the whole rest of the show. We got a lot to talk about today. Of course, it is bracket reveal Tuesday. I guess is what we're doing. We will go through all of our brackets. It's going to get spread out through the entire show. We have our men's bracket filled out. We have our women's bracket filled out. It's the least amount of college basketball I have watched on the NCAA level in decades. So it's going to be my best bracket performance, I think.
That I don't know. It's going to be crazy. I had one guy tell me today, I took Gonzaga all the way through. No.
Who knows? Guys. Listen, there have been years where I've watched so much college basketball, especially the moment football got done. I was watching 2-3 different games a day and thought I knew all this stuff, and then my brackets get burnt. Your brackets are going to burn anyways. So I figured we're going to have some fun with it. We'll go through it again. Men's and women's will go throughout the day. You and Eric were able to go through the centrals for the American League and National League divisions. This week, we have the old East, AL and NL. So my team, the New York Yankees, we will be talking about them. We'll have that in the first hour. We'll have the National League in the second hour. Sports-related draft returns. You and Eric did not do that, right?
No,
him
and I did not.
There.
We were going to, but
I wanted Eric to tie Denny Grubb for his third most wins in the sports-related draft.
We texted back and forth, and I'm like, where are we going to put it with everything talking? And so We didn't know.
But it is your choice.
Yes.
Do you want to reveal that now or surprise people at the top of the next
No,
hour?
let's make them stick around a little bit because I think I'm going to win. I have to win.
God,
I don't
you
know.
have not been winning.
But here's the thing about it. With a couple of the staff members I work with, we talked about it a little bit because
You're
they are
teaming up against me. And
no,
it's not
we
gonna
talked
work
about
for
it.
you.
But
It's not going to work.
What's funny is every one of the first 4 picks are ones that everybody said,
Which is
so
crazy
which
for
is
how
cool.
How many golf courses are out in the world?
Well, what are you doing? We didn't say what we were talking about.
Oh well. So now there's a hint. There's a hint. I don't know what I'm doing. We're gonna talk about the World Baseball Classic that is going on right now. Believe it or not, we'll be wrapped around there. And of course, there was a bit of a trade that happened on Friday. There's been several trades, but one involving a certain number 1 pick.
Yep.
We will discuss that a little bit later. But let's go through some quick hitting news to start you off on this Pi Day.
Pi Day.
No, Aaron Rodgers has not officially signed or been traded to the New York Jets, or he is not officially retired, or he's not said anything. But he will be on the Pat McAfee show tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I don't watch the Pat McAfee show. I've seen some clips, but I will be watching at 10 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube.
I was to say he's on YouTube.
He's on YouTube.
I don't know if I can stream him at school or not.
We'll be watching. The NCAA opening rounds are going on. I never watched these. I
don't either.
Wish they would go back to 64. I'm sorry. There is such a thing of having too much of a good thing. 64 was perfect for the NCAA basketball tournament. This shows I just don't care. But Texas A&M Corpus Christi was able to get the win in a battle of 16 seeds against Southeast Missouri State. And that means that they get Alabama on Thursday. So congratulations to them. And then here, starting in a few minutes, it'll be Pittsburgh and Mississippi State, a battle of 11 seeds.
Listen, Eric, bite your tongue. If they go that far, they can't go that far.
Well, if you're going to expand big, I guess. Just these little throwaway games are just not for me. And they mess up your bracket because they're in here as 2 different teams. So I have a rule where I just don't pick either of them to win in their actual first round because I don't want to put Arizona State / Nevada.
Right.
Or I don't want my bracket to be completely busted on Wednesday when no one else follows that.
The problem with that, and
yeah, I know the 25% rule. I get it.
But the problem, what happens with that, and then you get into the other whole realm of it, is you kind of screw over the NIT. And I know NIT is there just
nobody
because
cares about the NIT.
And
except for
Washington State fans this year there, so it'll be a little bit. But I understand, so. So this is the whole thing
that's going on now. You get 2 more games tomorrow. The women's tournament with their opening round start tomorrow as well. World Baseball Classic starting to wrap up the pool play. It's today and tomorrow. USA had the day off today, but Venezuela defeated Nicaragua 4-1. Canada defeated Colombia 5-0. And right now, the Dominican Republic, your team to win it all, is up over Israel 3-0 in the bottom of the 6th. They've given up just the 1 hit in that game. And just to get it out of the way, in case there's people out there that say we don't talk about this stuff, there's 8 NBA games, 12 NHL games. That's about all you get. No team in the NBA has clinched a playoff spot yet. They're getting close to wrapping up this regular season, but 3 teams have been eliminated: Detroit, San Antonio, and Houston. And the Boston Bruins in the NHL. Have you seen that record? I don't watch hockey that much, and I keep wanting to get into it. They're 50-10-5 on the year. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. They're the only team to clinch a playoff spot in hockey right now. They're 27-3-3 at home.
Well, listen, after March Madness is done, there's only one direction besides Major League Baseball I'll be going.
Aussie rules. We'll be talking about that next week. First week is here. We will talk about that at the end of the second hour.
Hockey is better if you go and watch it in person. If you can watch it in person, that's okay. But this can't do it. But a lot of people say the same thing with golf. They can't sit in there and watch golf.
That's fair. So, everyone has their own taste, and that's just how it is. You don't come to this show to listen to us talk about NBA or
No.
or hockey because that's just not our sports. We're baseball and football people.
Mhm.
Aussie rules football is in there. NASCAR's in there. Or golf is up there.
We didn't even add bowling to our. Where were you going to put bowling this weekend? To our
Nothing
list?
happened in bowling. They're bowling in some
It was
dinky bowling alley in the Midwest, and then they had the weird
the
NASCAR
NASCAR
thing.
one, yeah.
But that was not even a tournament. That was a
It was kind of
thrown
fun to watch
together.
It was kind of
thing.
cool watching them. But
It got really distracting listening to them having conversations live on microphones while people are bowling. Like I'm trying to focus on this stuff and watch them throw off, and they're just having these weird conversations in the back of your ear. I don't like it. Wasn't a fan. All right, let's get into the main topic of the show. NFL free agency officially begins tomorrow, but we have this, okay, you can tamper now time frame that the NFL sets. It's the dumbest thing. And then most people, what was it? Noon on Monday is when the NFL's like, hey, you can tamper now. And it was like 12:05. All right, we have our first signing of the day. So tampering happens. Let's just stop. Let's just get rid of the tampering to say the moment the Super Bowl's done, you guys can talk, but nothing can get set up until this date or whatever.
That's what needs to happen as soon as,
because they talk
all the time. I mean, who else would have talked? I mean, look at how many people showed up. There was teams that were talking to folks at the combine. I mean, it happens. We know it happens.
They're working on that stuff for sure. Some of the bigger signings, of course, I hinted at it. This microphone is going all over the place. All right. The big thing for me and the New York Jets, and the extra hint that Aaron Rodgers will be going to New York. Alan Lazard is going to sign with the Jets. 4 years, $44 million. What was it? $22 million guaranteed, I think. Like he was part of the list.
You just made the list
that Aaron Rodgers gave to the New York Jets of people that he would like for them to sign, which was basically everyone he's played with, and Odell Beckham Jr.
including OBJ.
Well, not including. He never played with OBJ.
Well, I'm just saying on the list. I mean,
but the rest of that list was like old teammates and stuff. I kind of get it. It's like these were the guys I actually trusted out of the 800 people I played with. These are the guys that still play that I trusted.
Right.
And I would like them to come along with me for my last year or two. But it's a little weird.
Yeah. I mean, who else you got on that list that might show up? Come knocking on the door of Woody, Woody's office and say, hey, Woody Johnson, sign me.
But you know what? If I'm the New York Jets, who do you want? If we can make it work cap-wise, if Mercedes Lewis, who's 38 years old and, the oldest tight end that caught more than one pass last year, if he wants to join you and catch a couple passes with us, if he will go for the league minimum, we can make it work. We don't throw to our tight ends anyways. So
here's the funny part about this. And Eric and I talked about this the other day. And we know that Woody Johnson, we know that Robert Saleh, we know the offensive coordinator. They all got on this little tiny jet and they flew
big jet.
And they flew out.
Johnson & Johnson jet. That thing is big. Do you know how much money they have?
They flew out to California and they want to sit there and talk to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So do you think Aaron Rodgers had this nice little note folded up and set up and he just slid it across over to Woody Johnson and said,
when they met, they weren't even set on this is going to happen. It was hey, are you going to show up to OTAs? Yeah, maybe. If you do this and this, and they kind of had conversations. From everything that I've been seeing online, and you go look at this Trey Wingo video that came out from a podcast, because he set Twitter ablaze yesterday by tweeting out that the deal was basically done, and then crickets happened. But he has come out on a podcast basically saying it is done, and it's not Aaron Rodgers that's holding it up. He doesn't know what it is. I don't know if there's just details that are getting worked out, or the way he put it was more of Green Bay has had Aaron Rodgers on their team for years. So they don't want it to just be leaked out there. They want to make an announcement and thank Aaron Rodgers for all these years and make this whole big deal about it, about getting rid of Aaron Rodgers and what he has meant to the franchise. And Then Trey Wingo pops off yesterday, and they're like, well, that ruined everything. And we'll see if Aaron Rodgers ruins it even more on Pat McAfee tomorrow. But from everything I'm saying, it's done. Like, it's going to happen.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Jet. And then you guys are going to have to deal with me having far too much optimism that any Jet fan is ever allowed to have. But it just needs to happen already. This waiting game is driving me insane. Even if it's 99.99% done, Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Jet. Until I see pen on paper and I know the trade's actually going to go through and Rodgers is actually going to, I'm a Jets fan. I know things can go horribly wrong really, really quick.
Well, it can happen at 8:10 when we normally sign up. When we get off the show, that's
no,
when
it's going to happen at 10 a.m. Pacific time on the Pat McAfee show on YouTube. That's how it's going to work.
So with that being said,
yes,
and we think that's almost a guarantee going there.
Yes.
Do they easily bump that high up now the standings with this team? Can you really? It's almost to the point that that's going to be the number one team in.
No,
it's going to be.
Well, hold on. The number one team where?
In the AFC East.
Maybe. Did it get no? It's 6 p.m. every Tuesday. Well, not every Tuesday. February got messed up, but Robert Taylor's here. In the AFC East, is close. Miami has been making some moves. I like what they're doing there. Mm-hmm. It's still Tua. Obviously he has to stay healthy, and hopefully the judo or whatever he's doing helps him with his concussions. I am on record that I do believe that the Buffalo Bills are going to take a step back. So, yeah, the Jets will definitely be up there in the conversation. Robert Taylor and I just had this conversation. The Jets last year were what, 7-10?
I think so, yeah.
7-10 with Zach Wilson, Mike White, and Joe Flacco. Okay? Now you add in Aaron Rodgers. This team is so much better. This defense is so good for this team. The offensive line, which everyone continues to make fun of, and I kind of do too, their backups were hurt. It wasn't all their starters got hurt and their backups weren't good. The backups got hurt. We were pulling off people from supermarkets, trying to put 5 guys in front of a quarterback that was just deciding to throw it to the other team anyway, so they didn't care. Our best running back was out. This Jets team legit could be a threat. Now, will I put the Jets, if the Jets get Aaron Rodgers, would I put them on the level of Kansas City? Absolutely not. Would I put them on the level of Cincinnati? No. But I can honestly see them as the 3rd or 4th best team in the AFC with Aaron Rodgers.
That's fair.
I think that is a fair statement. I know a lot of people still are very high on Buffalo, and I won't go fully against it. Yeah, Eric, and Jacksonville's going to be right up there too, because they continue to make these great improvements, and Trevor Lawrence continues to show that he's, that star quarterback that everyone thought he was going to be, and he's really starting to step up into his own. The AFC just is going to continue to be ridiculously stacked. They still are. And that also worries me, because then I look at the Jets' schedule, or their opponents. Mm-hmm. The schedule won't come out for a few months. It's tough. Who was in the Super Bowl this year?
Not the Ravens.
No. Oh, yeah. Kansas City and Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Jets get them both.
That's great. They were, what was number? And with you saying that, it brings up, and Eric will talk, because we've talked mm-hmm. about him a few times. Brenton, the guy from Benchwarmer brand, Brandon, and he was talking about how Kansas City is the number one offense. And they were when it basically was going against how Mike McCarthy has kind of poked and prodded at Kellen Moore, since Kellen now has left for coaching elsewhere, championships. And it's just funny how some of these big moves are starting to rear their head to the point of, this is interesting here. Why are they doing this here? Why are they doing this? Why this move? What are they thinking about? Mm-hmm. And for me, in some of these trades, and we haven't talked, or signings that we haven't talked about yet, are quite interesting. And you said Tua a few minutes ago,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing what Miami's going to do with Tua, they signed Mike White. Then you see Jameis Winston going to re-sign one more year with New Orleans to now back up Derek Carr.
Yeah, and
interesting.
That's fine.
There's still a lot of interesting things. And with that being said, I've thought about this after you had messaged and we saw the little bit about the Aaron Rodgers thing. Is, can you seriously now say that the Green Bay Packers are going to go with Jordan Love?
Yes, 100%.
Or now with their draft pick, do they pick somebody right behind him? I don't know. There's just
because there's 4 really good quarterbacks apparently in this draft. We'll see if they end up being good or they end up being busts. Not all of them are going to work out. I can't tell you which ones are going to work, which ones aren't, because I have a bad track record on that. Anyways, just the translation between college and the NFL is hard, and some people are going to figure it out and some aren't. But those main 4 are going to be far gone before Green Bay can pick.
Mm-hmm.
And I will not be shocked that if this trade gets announced between the Jets and the Packers tomorrow, the next day, next week, if it goes down, I would not be shocked if there's not a first-round pick involved.
I could see that happening. I could 100% see it happen.
Now, if the Jets give up their first-round pick for Aaron Rodgers, fine. I don't care. As long as Aaron Rodgers can get the Jets to finally make the playoffs in over a decade, first-round pick is worth it. It's been that bad as a Jets fan. I'll pay a first-round pick to get into the playoffs. Absolutely. However, it's a $50 million price tag on this guy. Now Green Bay might eat some of that. The Jets can re-sign Aaron and split some of that money up and spread out some of that salary cap hit a little bit. But with how much money Aaron Rodgers is owed, and you're thinking 1 year, maybe 2, I don't know if it's a first-round pick.
Right.
So I don't. Green Bay is all in.
Well, and that
the Packers sweater, that has been the joke. Is it going to be the New York Packers?
Yeah. Well, and that's the big thing. And you and I have talked about it, about your team over the last year, and how much I'm on board with Robert Saleh. I'm so impressed.
Mm-hmm.
We were both very highly impressed with Breece Hall before he got hurt. I don't want to even acknowledge it.
I don't want to acknowledge it.
Though. But you look at the same thing with your defense. Dude, I'd be scared to go in there and play your team.
It's going to be a good team. It's going to be a really, really good team, especially if Aaron Rodgers goes there. I don't care how many friends he brings over. They'll make it work.
Does that mean Haley's going to start wearing Jets green?
We can never. I don't think I can ever talk her into that.
Going from Jets green.
She's going to be in love with Jordan Love. That's just what's going to happen. At least for 1 year. We'll see how he plays.
Maybe I'll poke the bear a little on Sunday, because I'm supposed to bowl with her on Sunday. So maybe I'll poke the bear and see if she's going to become a Jordan Love fan.
All right. So while we wait for the Aaron Rodgers news, like you had hinted at, there was a lot more quarterback news, which has been even more worrisome as a Jets fan. I've been on the record. Derek Carr was my number 1 choice, because you would have had him for more years.
Yep.
I do like him in New Orleans. Having Winston there as a backup, I think, is brilliant, just in case Carr goes down, because Winston's not going to cost you that much. And you know what? When you have the best quarterbacks in that division, if one goes down, you still probably have the best quarterback currently in that division. What were some of the other ones? Raiders signing Jimmy Garoppolo and then going, hey, look at all these weapons you can throw to. Oh, except for Darren Waller. Darren Waller, you can no longer throw to, because we're going to trade him to the New York Giants. I'm glad that Robert Taylor's here, because the story of this trade makes me laugh. And I bring up Tom Grossi a lot, because I like watching him. He's really, really funny. He always does those reactions.
Right.
Did you know what pick the Giants gave the Raiders?
No.
The Giants gave the Raiders the Chiefs' old 3rd-round pick that the Chiefs gave for Kadarius Toney. So his whole joke was, the Chiefs, we gave up a 3rd-round pick, and we got Kadarius Toney, and we got rid of Darren Waller with the same pick. amazing. That's just how the Chiefs are rolling right now. Is they got Kadarius Toney and gave up Darren Waller as an opponent.
It's just crazy. And our buddy Larry Dawson, Larry even makes a comment. Just how these Raider fans react when things happen. Listen, it's a business.
Oh yeah,
people are going to come and go.
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
For sure.
And he was talking about how it's been.
And you know what? It's even worse. The Jets are going to trade like a 2-2s to Green Bay or something for Aaron Rodgers. They're still going to have their number 1 pick, and they're going to trade that pick to the Raiders to get Devontae Adams.
That's sick and wrong, dude. That is just sick and wrong. It could happen.
It could happen.
Adams,
Wilson, and Lazard as your 3 wide receivers in New York getting thrown to by Aaron Rodgers. I might lose.
And
my
Breece
mind.
Hall running.
And Breece Hall running to be great. So yes, Jimmy G going to the Raiders. We will see how that works. To me, I feel like it's evenish with Derek Carr, but you better have a decent backup for Jimmy Garoppolo. Interesting that the 49ers gave a 1-year deal to Sam Darnold. It makes sense if you're very worried that Brock Purdy is not going to be back in time. And if Trey Lance is so injury prone, Sam Darnold right now is kind of that insurance policy, I think, for San Francisco. They don't want Sam Darnold to start, but if you have to, he could get you a couple games until Brock Purdy comes back. It's kind of the same. It's interesting. Atlanta going with Tyler Heineke over there for the Falcons. I'm guessing as a backup, but could that be a battle and try to, Desmond Ridder over there? Maybe they don't have him fully sold. So it's like, all right, we're going to have a quarterback battle and really test this young man.
Yeah, I think so. But Desmond, though, I think he's proved himself. I think he's going to be the guy there.
Back,
so
no,
I missed it.
No, he's there. It goes.
Oh, there.
He fixed it.
It's interesting with them going that direction with Heineke. So now it just, the more you saw that move happen, unfortunately, I hate saying it, that just opens up the door more for the comment that Robert Taylor just made.
Lamar Jackson to Washington.
Dude, you were guaranteed $200 million early last year.
No, he wasn't.
Early last year.
No.
Yes, he was. And it was like
Reportedly.
4 years or 5 years, like $200 million. Doing this
but it
all
wasn't
by
all
himself.
guaranteed.
No, and I think it was like, if I remember right, when reading it was like 180, somewhere right in there.
I think it was
but now you're 133 and 3, and you turn it down.
Again, who knows? That's all he tweeted. That doesn't mean that's what they offered and they turned down. That's just what he tweeted with a laughing face.
And a face palm, hand to the face. I'm like, dude, just sign. Let's just
stop dicking around your quarterback.
I don't think they have. I think that's the problem.
Or they would have put him in they would have put him as an exclusive tag. If they really wanted him around, they would have signed him to the exclusive tag. Instead, they're like, please, somebody take him.
I think they're wanting him to see what is out there money wise.
And you know what's out there? Dan Snyder.
Dan Snyder needs to go. I think he's just finding more and more hot water.
Another person I like to bring up on this show, because I watch him all the time, is Rich Eisen. He came up with the brilliant plot point. The NFL is trying to get rid of Dan Snyder, right?
Yeah.
What does Dan Snyder do? Sign Lamar Jackson to the most crazy contract you've ever seen, and then go, I'm gone.
Yeah, I'm leaving.
Yeah, I don't have to pay it now.
He only has to go, 20 miles down the road?
Yeah.
What is it, 20? Yeah. Right out 20 miles?
Sign him to a 5-year, fully guaranteed $250 million contract that resets the standard again for contracts, and then go, all right, anybody that wants to buy the Washington Commanders, we have a star quarterback, so the price for this team just went up. Oh, you sold it to me? Cool, I don't have to pay this. I'm out.
Yeah, they just need to do something and do it quickly. That's the
something.
How about Deshaun Watson? He doesn't want to be outdone, so they restructure his contract. They freeze up to $36 million.
He doesn't get outdone. It was it's a horrible contract that Cleveland gave to Watson, and now they're trying to clear it up so they can get anybody over there. I think that is fine. Matt Ryan's going to get cut. No one cares.
Where does he end up, or
done.
is he finally done?
He's probably done. I
He
mean, he
has to
might
be.
end up somewhere just as a backup, or he could be one of those guys like Phillip Rivers last year that will start calling teams when people get hurt of, hey, I'm still here. Please. Anybody want a quarterback? Anything? No.
I don't see anything happening with him. I think he's
A couple of other trades that happened so far. Dallas is going to trade with the Indianapolis Colts for Stephon Gilmore. It's just a 5th-round pick. So is Indianapolis really starting to dump some of these players, or we're going to see more players move from them? Same thing with the Rams. Are they getting ready to try to reset things? They finally get some draft picks. They trade Jalen Ramsey to Miami for a 3rd-round pick and some tight end that our buddy Riccio, a Dolphins fan, had no idea even existed. So
how about the best one? And I keep laughing about this, and we haven't brought it up. And I don't remember if Eric and I talked about it last week, but Richie keeps poking the prod at our buddy Robbie Dunn. Derrick Henry on his way out.
He might
Tennessee.
And Miami is removing some stuff, though. They've re-signed Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, so you start to think that that's not going to happen.
Money's starting to get sparse.
Buffalo just redid their deal with Stephon Diggs just minutes before we went live. That freed up a few $1 million. That would put Buffalo back on top of the AFC East, I think, if they get Derrick Henry, because again, they've really not had a running game with Josh Allen. So yes, I do think Tennessee is getting ready to move away from Derrick Henry, and it's about that time. He's getting up there in age. We've said for the last 3 years that we think he's going to take a step back, and he just hasn't, because Derrick Henry is just a freak of nature. However, at some point, it's
I figured something like that was
Eric, I apologize. I do not think Derrick Henry is going to get traded within the division. That is one thing I do not see.
Don't think
happening.
I don't see him going down
again. There's been a lot of moving parts. Cincinnati's lost some people, and that's been big. Philadelphia the same. They had a lot of free agents, and they've lost some of them. So a lot of moving parts. We'll hit on more of it next week as things become more official and things start settling in a bit more. But those are some of the bigger moves that have happened so far in the tampering time of the NFL free agency.
Well, let's just say our one local boy, it is almost done. Leighton Vander Esch is going to come back to Dallas, which we like to talk about local boys, Salmon River guy. So sign a 2-year deal for $11 million. So what should be coming up, I guess.
That is true. Strange things do happen. All right. Get your NCAA brackets out, which
right there.
I have realized I have not done this with the kids just yet, and Haley hasn't filled out hers, but we will have them filled out before games start on Thursday. Again, these opening round games I don't care about.
Nope.
We are going to talk about, on the men's bracket first, the West bracket, which is, I believe, the bottom right bracket. But it's the one with Gonzaga.
Right.
So that's the one I wanted to start
with. So, Nicole, get your bracket out, because Nicole asked me today. She says, I got to fill out my bracket at school because 2 of her teachers are doing brackets up on the wall. So,
there you go.
There you go. Get it out. Ready to go. Let's
more places need to have fun with this and come up with goofy ways to happen. It's just fun to fill out the brackets. Again, it's the least amount of college basketball I've watched in a season in decades.
I did share with you my employer. Blocked out NCAA.com.
Well,
look for them to probably block out CBS Sports.
Stay working, sir.
Good thing I have Dish Anywhere on my phone. So
there you go. So we're not going to go through matchup by matchup because it's a 2-hour show and we have a lot to talk about. Just kind of look through this bracket real quick. Just give me your quick thoughts real quick. What do you got? Anything really stand out to you?
I love the idea of St. Mary's in the same bracket with Gonzaga.
I hate it. Usually they try to split that up.
I know.
Not that it's going to matter, but
no, and I don't think it'll matter because, I have St. Mary's going out a little bit earlier. I do like the Boise State Northwestern matchup. That one's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
my hint. That's my upset in that one. I like Boise State. I mean, I think they've got a good chance to beat Northwestern there. You've got a couple big dominant teams with Kansas and UCLA. It's going to be a good bracket with a couple of chances for a couple upsets there.
Yeah, and that's a fun. There's always going to be chances for upsets, and then I never get the right ones correct. I went kind of chalky this year. Nothing too crazy. Again, I haven't really been watching this stuff. But if you are listening live or if you're listening later, you can still comment and we can see them. Every time we go through one of these brackets, I want to know from you guys, what was your biggest upset you have in that bracket? And then who do you have winning the whole thing? That bracket.
Yep.
And we'll do the Final Four and stuff. Or if you have to leave, I want to know other people's predictions, because that's just the fun of these. It's one of those things you get bragging rights, even though none of us really know. And we just like to have a little bit of fun. You said your biggest upset was the 10 over the 7 because you are boring. And there's no big upsets for you. That's not true. My biggest upset, and I believe looking back through my bracket, if you do not count 9 over 8 as an upset, because it's really not. My only upset I have in the West bracket is St. Mary's going down to VCU. I know Shaka Smart is not the coach anymore for VCU, so it's not that same tradition that team has. But VCU always, they get into this tournament and they make some noise. It's the same as what Gonzaga used to be.
Right.
They would continuously just make it to the Sweet 16. So I'm going to do that with VCU. I'm going to have them win one game. I do have them losing to UConn in the second round. I have pretty boring, though. I have the top 4 seeds moving on into the Sweet 16, and then I'm going to have Kansas, the top seed, winning it. So I make fun of you for being boring, but most of my bracket in that section, kind of boring as well.
Well, I have St. Mary's knocking off UConn. So that one I think is going to be...
Sorry. You go through your bracket real quick, and then I'm going to shame Mr. Eric Watkins.
Now, so I have the top 3, but then I have the number 5 seed over the 4 seed in the Sweet 16. I'm taking St. Mary's over UConn. So, I'm 1, 2, 3, and they're... I think it is Kansas's side of the bracket to lose, basically.
Eric says 2 of my 3 has Kansas and the other has UCLA. One bracket. I'm a one bracket person.
See, and I only did one this year, and I used to do one that I did the odds, and then I did one with my gut.
Now you can have goofy ones.
I've shared the one goofy ones.
Well, yeah. Well, you can have goofy ones that are not quote unquote yours, but you can't sit there and fill out. Well, Eric has 3, but you can't fill out a bunch of brackets and then go, well, that one sucks. Rip it up. Look how good my bracket was. That's not how it works. Our buddy Doof still does it. And I used to, but he does a coin flip bracket. I used to load up old NCAA basketball games and put the teams in and have those brackets run. And that was a different bracket. So I would have 6 or 7 brackets filled out, but only one had my name on it.
Right.
The rest were goofiness.
Now, I did share with you with one of my past work colleagues what she used to do, right?
With the mascots or
no.
What are you doing?
She used to do red and blue states.
Oh, God.
She brought her politics into March Madness, and she would literally do red and blue states. And it was just like,
well, we can't do political things here.
No.
So we're going to move on.
I just, it just doesn't make any sense.
NCAA is not the only thing that has March Madness going on. The Lewis Clark State women were unfortunately eliminated last night. They did a good job here at home, where they were able to win both of their games. And I was lucky enough to call those. So I joked many times that I was in the kiddie table because we had a bunch of media there. And obviously, Danner and Bert are calling the LC games for the radio. But due to NAIA rules, we cannot share their radio with the actual NAIA stream. It's something they changed a few years ago. So you have to have a different broadcast team for the stream part, which ended up being me. I had a lot of fun doing the 3 games, but because that table was taken up by them and Alicia and the Lewis and Tribune and stuff, I got this table off to the corner of the court, like near the corner. So my angle was weird. I had a couple of mistakes throughout the thing where I misread 13 as 16 and was like, "Oh, she made a shot," and that girl was on the bench. I was so some difficult plays
I'm
to
surprised they
call
didn't
from
put
there.
you behind those guys on a different table. Why
No,
would
because you
put
want to
down?
sell those seats.
Yeah.
So for sure. But they did end up in Sioux City, Iowa, and they were hoping to make a pretty good run. But their first game over there, they do fall to Clark, who was the number 2 seed in their bracket. Hopefully, I get this name right. Tina Ubel. She's not listening, but I apologize to her if I do get this wrong. But she was insane. I wasn't able to watch it, but I had the stat tracker up for this entire game. She had 28 points for Clark on 11 of 16 shooting. She was perfect 3 of 3 from beyond the arc and 3 of 3 from the line. That's all great and good. All of that happened in just 15 minutes of play. And then she unfortunately left with an injury. Alicia had told me that she had left with an injury. I don't know how bad it was, but then she didn't play the rest of the game because Clark kind of had ran away with it. They were up by like 25 at one point. LC makes a run late. They cut it to just a 12-point lead. Sarah Muehlhausen, 17.7 rebounds. Maddie Holm and Ellie Sander both finished with 10. So the Warriors do finish the year 30-4. It's their first 30-win season since 2016 and 17. It's a very fantastic team, just as they were last year, just falling short in the tournament. It's a team that might be just as good, if not slightly better next year. They lose Addison Clabby, Sarah Muehlhausen, and Hannah Broyles as seniors, though losing may not be there because with the COVID years, they may have one more year of eligibility if they choose to do so. But most college students go, "No, I'm done. Get me out of these class things. I've graduated." But those 3 were seniors. Some fantastic freshmen that I wrote about on lcwarriors.com that the Lewiston Tribune stole my article.
I've seen that a couple of times. So
Don has told me that he's going to take it because they needed to fill space, and that I don't mind it.
Are you getting a per diem from him?
No, I'm not getting crap.
Maybe I need to make a phone call to Don Walden.
No, it's fine. I'm happy with the 2 articles, so getting more eyes on it was totally fine.
Listen, I'm still hyped with when you got your article on Yahoo and it made it.
I've had several actually end up on Yahoo because apparently they just steal things. Because once it hits the wire, people can just take stuff. That's totally fine. That's same with Don being able to take those. Again, it's not a big deal to me, but it's kind of weird to go on a Yahoo site and see my name and the byline, even though that was like they're just throwing things out there and 4 people are seeing it. But I'll take it. All right, let's flip over to your women's bracket.
All right.
And it is so I feel so bad for the women. not for the fact that we're combining some of their brackets, but the men, it's so nice and neat. You have, East, South, West, Midwest.
Right.
The women have always just went sites. Whatever site that their Sweet 16 would be played at, like the men are being, I don't even know where the men are at on my bracket. So for the women, they only have 2 sites. So you get Greenville 1 and Greenville 2, and then Seattle 3 and Seattle 4. I hate that. I'm not a fan. But let's do the Greenville bracket. So it's the top 2 brackets there. Again, I don't watch a lot of college basketball, let alone women's college basketball. So I see a South Carolina team on here who's 32-0 and dominated, and we've talked about them a couple times on this show. I'm just going to take them and just continually move them all the way down.
I did too.
Yeah, it's not a shocker there. So the 1 seed out of the Greenville 1 bracket, I think, was the easy one for me. On the other Greenville 2, you want to have a little bit of fun, right? So how about a 4 seed? Give me Villanova. I know nothing about this team, but I'm going to have Villanova beat Utah in the Elite 8 and make it to the Final 4.
Wow, that's a crazy one. I don't know.
You don't know. You don't know who's on these teams.
I think LSU is going to do good out of the Greenville 2. But I'm taking UNLV as upsetting Michigan in the in game 1, round 1. So get UNLV against LSU. So it'll be interesting. I have Utah going up against LSU. So I've got Indiana and LSU coming out of that in the Elite 8, and I'm going to take Indiana. I know Indiana's the 1 seed, but you look listen,
Boring.
you look at the women's top 10,
Mhm.
you can tell who the top 10 are.
There's
That's the
more of a
separation.
separation in the women's game than the men's game for
By far.
sure. Little insight into the way I did my brackets this year. I just went on ESPN.com and you can fill out those brackets and you just click on the information thing and they give you all these different details as far as stats. And then anytime the stats or the percentages were close, then I hemmed and hawed about did I want an upset. But if it came out like 90% to 10% on everything, I went, nah, I can't go that far. One piece of note here, Washington State making the tournament as they made that crazy run in the Pac-12 tournament. So congratulations to the Cougars there. They are the 5th seed. They will take on Florida Gulf Coast on the 18th. I can't do math. Is that Saturday?
Yes.
Yeah, Saturday at 2:30 p.m. I'm going to guess that's Eastern time, according to my bracket. We'll see if the Cougars are able to win. I have them winning 1 game and then losing to Villanova. What about you?
I have them making it to the Sweet 16, taking on Indiana.
There you go. Yeah, that'll do it. So Villanova for me, a couple of 1 seeds.
Yeah.
For Robert
But
Hagan.
I think the big one that I'm excited to watch, matchup besides the Cougars. I wanted to put that one, but I wanted to. You did it. Turn your attention to the other side, Arizona, West Virginia. I think that's going to be a good matchup in that one in the opening round. So
who do you got winning that one?
I'm going to take Arizona, but it's going to be close. It's going to be close.
By the way, both of these brackets for both of us will be put up on our Facebook page, and we ask and invite you to do the same in the comments, and then we will all laugh at the burned brackets that we have by next Tuesday's show. That's the fun of making brackets, I think.
Okay.
All right, we'll get back into the bracket talk a little bit later, but it's baseball. Spring training is going on right now. World Baseball Classic has I've watched more World Baseball Classic than college basketball conference tournaments. That's for sure. We'll talk about the World Baseball Classic here in a few minutes, but how about we look at the best division in all of baseball, and Eric Watkins would agree with me. The American League East. The home of the 3 teams that made the playoffs and all stunk. The Yankees, the Blue Jays, and the Rays. None of them did much.
No.
Once they got to the postseason.
0.
But there you go. The Yankees did win the division last year, 99-63. They're able to beat the Guardians in the divisional series and then got absolutely swept by the eventual World Series champion, Houston Astros. That was a rough series to watch. Toronto was 92-70. They made a wild card, which was the first time we had that best 2 out of 3 all at the home teams park round thing. And the Seattle Mariners took care of business there.
Yep.
And then the Tampa Bay Rays were 86-76 and got swept by the Guardians in their wild card matchup. Baltimore finished above 500. They were 83-79. And the Boston Red Sox were 78-84. A couple of the big moves that went on over the offseason. Obviously, the Yankees getting Carlos Rodon from the Giants, and they also paid big money for Aaron Judge. Toronto traded Teoscar Hernandez to Seattle. And then Boston, they lose Xander Bogaerts, but they do sign Japanese sensation Masataka Yoshida, I believe is how you say that name. So honestly, there wasn't a lot of ridiculously over the top moves.
No.
But Tampa Bay did their normal shifting and shaking and moving pieces here and there. And it's one of those where you look at the moves that they make and you're like, oh, I think this team got worse. But then it's the Tampa Bay Rays, and I don't want to sell this team because every time you sell this team, they end up winning 95 games. Toronto was moving some pieces. Yes, they lose Hernandez and save some money that way, but a lot of their young talent continues to improve. Obviously, Vlad there and Bichette, and they have some fantastic talent there. Yankees trying to retool a bullpen, try to get another ace, but now he's going to start on the IL. So typical AL East
Right,
stuff happened
right.
in the offseason. What was some of the big stuff that really stood out to you?
And for me, it all goes down to what Aaron Judge did. I mean, it was the Yankees needed to shore him up and sign him. Hands down was the biggest thing that needed to happen in that division. If he doesn't sign, I think everybody in the entire league would have been putting in for him to come play ball with them. So I think that was the biggest thing that the Yankees could do. How do you compete? That's the big thing in knowing what Baltimore did last year. We're highly impressed with what they did this season. How do they back up another 83-79 season? How do they move on? And I think that's the big thing. And we'll talk about those guys here in just a minute. But
breaking-ish news.
About
20 minutes ago. The Detroit Lions are signing former Chicago Bears running back David Montgomery and are expected to say goodbye to Jamal Williams.
That one's interesting.
David Montgomery signing with the Lions to a 3-year, $18 million contract. So Jamal Williams will now hit the open market, if he wasn't already, but
I think
he's out there.
It'll be interesting. So, but no, how does my other big takeaway for me is looking forward to this season is how does that team of Baltimore put themselves back into the category of the New York Yankees and Toronto and what they've done.
Right. Getting themselves in the playoff.
I think Boston's way far behind again.
Yes.
And they've got to figure something out in Boston, and hopefully signing Yoshida might be a spark. But I think they're missing another bat to go along with
I was
Beavers.
surprised that they got outbid on Bogarts, but then I feel overpaid on Devers. I think Boston's kind of in this weird situation right now. I really like this Baltimore team with some of the young talent. Denny Grubb is not here to tout Adley Rashman, but there's so many players, and we're going to break down our division MVP and our breakout star. And I had a hard time not picking another Baltimore Oriole after you did, and we won't spoil that just now, but I was trying to find another person. And then I also don't want to go with the Yankees, because I also think the Yankees have a couple people in their minor leagues. Will they be the breakout star this year or next year? We'll see. Anthony Volpe, I'm super excited about. The Martian, Jason Dominguez. Look out for that name in 2 years. Could he make it to the majors this year? It's possible. But I do think he will end up in AAA by the end of the year. They might bring him up late. But he is raking right now in the minors, and he has been one of their top, if not top prospects for the last couple of years. And he's going to be fantastic to see. But I don't want to go that route either. But there's a lot of young talent in this division. And as is the case in the NL East, I think there's a separation between the top and the bottom, though I think in the NL East, it's a 3-2 situation. I think it's 4-1. I think it's Boston's out. The other 4 teams are going to be really difficult to say 1 or 2 of them are not going to make the playoffs.
And that's you bring up a great point with that, and you saying that. Could you easily say that the AL East and the NL East are the 2 best divisions right now going into the start of MLB season?
I would almost say it's the AL East and the AL West as the best 2 divisions, the deepest divisions, because the NL East gets kind of hampered down with Washington, who's horrible, and Miami, who just can't get out of their own way. Now, if we just say, okay, top 3 in each division, then yeah, I think those are the best 2 divisions. The NL West is also very good if you just take those top 3. And Colorado and Arizona are trying to take steps forward. But I think the AL West, which we will talk more about next week, Seattle made the playoffs. Houston just won the World Series, and they're not going anywhere. Texas continues to make big splash after big splash, and they're becoming a better team. The Angels have all the talent in the world. They just can't seem to win. And then you got Oakland. But so to me, it's 4 teams that possibly could make the playoffs in the AL West as well, which, again, even with the expanded playoffs, just makes it so hard to predict which teams are going to make the postseason in the American League. All right. We both agree Aaron Judge is your division MVP. We don't need to break that down. I will just ask you, over or under 55 home runs for Aaron Judge?
62 last year. I just, it's going to be hard
55 is so much.
It's going to be hard to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
You would think these teams are going to have to pitch him somewhat differently. Could you? I could easily see him over 40, closer to 45. But I think we're going. It's going to be hard to be over 50 this year.
Yeah, him right around 50 is kind of my prediction. Again, health is very important, and it's really how well everyone else around him plays. I was really hoping the Yankees were going to move off, or try to find new homes for Josh Donaldson and Gleyber Torres and bring in some of these young bats and kind of have this new young wave, and they just have not done so. So it's, if Stanton stays healthy, that's a good 1-2 punch. Rizzo is still there batting his 250s, not doing a ton of power. So there's not a ton of protection for the Yankee slugger. I was going to say right fielder, but he may have to play some center. He's been playing some left in spring training. They have all sorts of stuff. And Eric does say push at 55 on the dot. All right, breakout star. I'll leave yours for second because I do agree with you. That was the first name that really popped into my mind. But mine is interesting because he was not part of the AL East last year. He was traded to Toronto from Arizona in the offseason. That's Dalton Varsho, who is a catcher. He also plays in the outfield, but I would bet he plays a lot of catcher for the Blue Jays this year. He had 11 home runs in his final 38 games last year. He's only been up in the big leagues for 2 years, and now you get him up into the American League where, yeah, there's a couple of top-notch pitchers with the Yankees, but I think Boston's rotation's not great. Baltimore's is okay. Tampa Bay has depth, but they don't have like that absolute shutdown person. I think Varsho's going to have a really, really good season for the Blue Jays, who are going to once again be threatening to make the playoffs, if not win the division.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There was 2 names for mine.
Okay.
And I did end up going the way I did with Gunnar Hernandez or Henderson.
Yeah.
Third baseman, I think he gets pretty much all of them. He played in the last 34 games of the season, 4 home runs, 18 RBIs, 7 doubles, a triple, and 4 home runs. Lots of extra base hits for having, I think he was right at 30 hits on the season for him. But the other name I'm going to throw out there, and I think you're probably going to agree, and I know Denny would agree with this, is the name Grayson Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Starting pitcher. I think he makes a huge splash this year with the Orioles, and they're going to need to really rely on him as him being one of the starters. Is he going to be the number 4 guy, the back end number 5 guy? It'll be interesting to see what they do. But I think you've got Kyle Gibson and Grayson with that, and you got Cole Irvin in that roster too. It's going to be they're not the big names,
right?
But they're making strides, and I think
absolutely.
And I think Baltimore is going to be something to keep an eye on.
And we'll get right into it. Give me your predictions for the standings. So Boston's 5th. How do you put the other 4?
You made it 100%. I think for me, I think it is New York on top, but the next 3 are all within.
And listen, we both have New York winning this division. Right. If New York wins this division by more than 5 games, I might be the most shocked person here. I think it's going to be really close.
I think it's going to be darn close. For me, I think I'm going to put Toronto just below New York. And then for me, it was a coin flip, and until as much as I'm on Henderson pitching and with all that, I think it's Tampa Bay just by maybe a game, maybe 2 games total ahead of Baltimore, but it's going to be close. You keyed on it. It's one bottom. It's one bottom seller team, and then the rest.
And absolutely. So Boston is 5th for me. Yankees, I do have winning the division. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to put Toronto 2nd. Just there's so much talent on that team, even though they do lose Teoscar, who's been looking great in the World Baseball Classic as well. And I always say I don't like to sell on Tampa Bay, but God, I like Baltimore a lot. I really, really do. I'm been going back and forth on whether I want to put them in one of the wild card spots. Luckily, I have 2 more weeks to decide on that, but I'm going to have Baltimore 3 and Tampa Bay 4. And it would not shock me if Tampa Bay's 2 and Toronto's 4, or whichever weird variety of mix and match deal you want to go there. But or if the Yankees end up not winning the division, because I mean, health is always been an issue for New York, and if they start getting the injury bug, which has kind of been hitting them in spring training, the Yankees could fall down quite a bit, and then those 3 are all battling out for the division. I think it's all going to be really close.
What are you going to do without Joey Gallo?
Laugh and smile and not worry.
I had to just take a poke for a second.
Joey Gallo, Joe Flacco, just names I'm so tired of hearing about. That's for sure. You are watching or listening to the R&R Sports Report, either on our R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages. And again, if you have not liked or followed those pages, please do so. If you have, thank you so much. Or you're listening to us on the LC Warrior Radio, which is still on KLCZ. They're finally finalizing websites. They found a student to build all that, and he's been working feverishly at it. I have been told a week or 2, and that should be up. So they're very excited to see the new format there. Hopefully it will work on all browsers. And that was kind of been their issue, is the media player that they've been using does not work on some browsers, and it's been causing them a headache. So they are working feverishly at that and trying to make it work. And when they do, we will let you know. So if you don't want to look at our ugly faces, you can listen to the audio version on there. All right, let's get back into the brackets, and let's just stay on the right side.
Okay.
So let's do the Midwest on the men's bracket. All right. So Houston's your 1 seed, Texas is the 2, Xavier's the 3 seed, Indiana's the 4, and old Eric Watkins' Miami Hurricanes are the 5th seed, as I have to scroll back up to his comment. I forget exactly when he had talked about. There it is. As long as you have Miami making a run, I'll be okay. Eric Watkins? Neither of us have Miami even beating Drake.
That is the big upset in my bracket, the entire bracket. I'm sorry, Eric. I do appreciate you doing the show last week with me, but Drake will upset Miami, the 12 seed over the 5 seed.
Part of me is regretting doing this part of the show before the sports-related draft, because Eric right now is the only one commenting, and he might be the one to decide who wins that. But luckily, you also had Drake winning.
I did.
So he's just mad at both of us right now. Yes, I had Drake over Miami. I actually have Drake into the Sweet 16. It's one of, I believe, only 2 double-digit seeds that I have into the Sweet 16. But other than that, it was pretty chalk for me. 1, 2, and 3, Houston, Texas, and Xavier moving to the Sweet 16. And I will actually have the number 2 seed Texas taking out Houston to get out of the Midwest. How about you?
I was looking at this, and I just want to ease Eric's mind just a little bit in your mind, because I love looking to see what Vegas has got things on. So right now, the over-under on that game, the 5-12 game, is 146.5. Miami right now is only favored by 2.5. Drake is 27-7 on the season. Miami 25-7 on the season. So, lots of possibilities.
Oh yeah,
lots of possibilities.
I'm sorry, man.
Sorry, dude, but Yeah. So for me, I think the other big one is the Iowa Auburn game. I think that's going to be a great matchup with that. But again, I think Houston. You picked Houston as the main overall number one.
No, I took Texas over Houston.
Texas.
Yeah, I took Texas over Houston.
But I mean, when we talked about it like 3 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I had them as the one.
I think you had
Houston
being the main number one. I feel that's probably going to be the same way because I have Houston going a ways in this one.
Just an update, because this Pittsburgh Mississippi State matchup would go in that Midwest bracket. Right now, Mississippi State leads Pittsburgh 23-21, a little over 7 minutes to go in that first half. So we have different teams making it into the Final Four. Into that one. Again, we will hit the other side of that bracket and the bottom half of the women's bracket later on in the show. Let's get to our second topic. Main topic of the day. A little chatting that we like to do, even though we are a bit behind schedule. But that's cool. That's what I like about this show. I come up with the format and then we blow it up. And it's totally fine. But
that happened last week with Eric and I. I don't think we even got
no. It's just one of those things, and then you jam everything into the last 5 minutes, and it's fine. Nobody cares.
No.
But we did mention earlier that the number one pick in the NFL draft has changed hands, and I don't know if you noticed in the notes I put Houston traded it because I'm just so used to the Houston Texans being so bad. But it was the Chicago Bears trading the number one pick to the Carolina Panthers, and Chicago gets the 9th pick this year. They'll get the first round pick next year. They also get a second rounder this year and a second rounder in 2025, along with wide receiver DJ Moore. So just quickly right off the bat, I want to see which side you're on. Did Chicago get enough for this pick? Did Carolina give up too much? Which side are you on?
For me, I think I honestly think Chicago got a lot. I really do. I think Chicago's going to be able to add to that defense. I think that is where they need to go with their first pick, that 9th one. I think they've got to do a little bit more interior line wise, I think, with them. So I think it's a great one. Who knows what happens in that first year? I think Justin Fields proved this year that he can
not win games.
He can win games as long as he has help, and I think that's where
he can win the fewest amount of games in the NFL.
And I think DJ is going to help out there a little bit.
DJ's going to be.
I think
DJ's a great addition.
I think Chicago got the better end of the deal.
Here is my answer: no, on both.
Okay.
Well, I guess the way I phrased it, did Chicago get enough? Yes, they do. They get a nice haul, like you said. DJ Moore is a good wide receiver. I think some people are over touting DJ Moore. He's a good receiver. In most places, I think he would be a good 2, but he was in Carolina, and so you have to be a 1 because there wasn't much there. And yes, he had nobody throwing to him. I totally get it. But I don't think he's ever had 100 receptions in a season. He's a good little running back when they do the wide receivers run option deals, and that's going to work really well with Justin Fields. And I think it's going to work out. But people are trying to act like Chicago got a top 10 wide receiver. It's not quite. Like, we're all living in fantasy worlds where, he's getting all these touchdowns, so it helps our fantasy team. So he's so great. He's good. He's very good, and he is a good weapon for Justin Fields. So I do think Chicago improved, and as you said, with the $90-some million of cap space that they had, and they've been making some moves, and these picks, the Bears are going to be taking these steps forward. Them moving out of the 1, I think, was very predictable. I didn't think they were going to drop this far, but they get a couple extra picks. They get DJ Moore out of it. But for Carolina, trending on Twitter right after this trade was the word fleeced. The Carolina Panthers did not get fleeced in this deal unless they pick incorrectly with their number 1 pick. So whoever they take, and we'll talk about who we think they may take with that first pick, but whoever they take, if they end up being a top 5 quarterback in the league for years. Okay, and who knows how things will work out. But if they end up being a top 5 quarterback and they lead Carolina to division titles and playoff runs, and let's even say a Super Bowl, right? Carolina didn't get fleeced. They did what they needed to do to make their team better. I don't care how many picks you have to give up to get that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to give that up. Like, I think Patrick Mahomes was somebody that got underrated coming into the draft. Andy Reid realized that he was slipping down and he jumped up. What was it? And Robert Taylor could correct me. What was it, 11th that they moved up to? Maybe 9th in that draft to get Patrick Mahomes. They gave up a few picks. If I would have told you Kansas City gave up 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks, 10th, so I was right in the middle. But if I would have told you Kansas City gave up 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks to go up and get Patrick Mahomes, would you tell me that Kansas City got fleeced?
Yeah.
No. I bet Robert Taylor would have gave up 5 first-round picks to get Patrick Mahomes. Now, is any of the 4 that are been rumored to be a top 10 pick this year anywhere near Mahomes? Probably not. But could they be a Joe Burrow? Could they be a Jalen Hurts?
Right.
Maybe. Could they get you to the Super Bowl? That's the question that will be answered. So it's impossible to know who won this trade until 5-10 years from now.
So with that being said, and I want you to put your general manager hat on. And this is what I'm listening to you talk about this a second ago. I kind of put myself in the general manager's spot.
Yeah.
How do you physically sit there and think, okay, I'm giving up a number 1 or I'm sorry, a number 9 this year.
Yeah.
A number 1 next year.
Yeah.
A second rounder in this year and a 2025. So you're telling me as you're sitting here and you know who you want to take.
Yeah. Maybe.
But if you
I don't think
if you don't now by a month out from the NFL draft.
Well, they have not really met all these people. They have not gone to the personal training days. But now they can pick whoever they want.
But you put yourself into that, and you look at even in the mock draft of who's sitting there at the top. You know, you've got either Bryce Young, you've got CJ Stroud, you've got Anthony Richardson, all quarterbacks at the top. Before we now get into the defensive side, which I was high on, the kid from Georgia, Jalen Carter. But if you're that general manager sitting in your desk right now, where do you pull these numbers of, okay, I'm going to give up a first?
Teams have these charts to figure out what each one is worth. They're not getting to the level of the NBA where they're trading 7 second-round picks that are draft blocked and insured.
I think that's the biggest part I struggle with is how do you put a price tag on a guy that you've only seen in
and it's just numbers and you go through. I'm sure they have analytical people that are going through a decade of picks and going, okay, a second round pick it's gotten this many Pro Bowls or this many accolades or whatever, so they're worth this amount, and the average player each round goes down so much so that they can calculate a quote unquote value for each one. And then they're just picks. Like we all made fun of the Los Angeles Rams for giving up all of the picks. And I wouldn't give up all of the picks. But you know what? It won them a Super Bowl.
Right.
Which is why I said at the beginning of the show, I don't care. I mean, I don't think Aaron Rodgers or the Jets are going to give up a first round pick for Aaron Rodgers. But if they do, I don't care as long as he can make this team better. That's the same thing with Carolina. Like anybody's like, oh, they gave up too much. Who knows?
Right.
Who knows who's even going to be drafted in those picks? Robert Taylor talks to me all the time. Pacheco was pretty good for Kansas City. He was a 6th round pick for the Chiefs. Breece Hall was fantastic for the Jets. He was a 2nd round pick. It's just different players get looked at differently, and they end up being better or worse for teams. And sometimes it's just based on the teams that drafted them and the way that they're able to teach a 7th round pick. So who knows? And in the end, what quarterback are they going to take? I don't know. And that's what I really like about it. Like, I do think CJ Stroud might be the favorite right now to be that first pick, but Bryce Young is getting a lot of looks. Anthony Richardson's been flying up different boards. Right. I would not be shocked if it was any of those three.
For me right now, you look at that and who is sitting there. I think hands down it is CJ Stroud.
Yeah,
I think. Okay. I mean, as much as I like Bryce Young, you like Anthony Richards. I think Anthony Richards is a little, and Eric
Green?
might, yeah. Maybe. And I think he's a little too high up that list. But I think honestly he should be down a little bit more. But again, I'm more defensive minded in thinking that. But I think CJ has to be the main goal for the Carolina.
But one quarterback that we did not talk about in our free agent news, because again, it's not a big deal, but it could be. Carolina, after trading for their first pick, signed Andy Dalton.
Right.
To be, you would think, just the veteran quarter backup to help one of these young quarterbacks. But could you be bringing in Andy Dalton to be that bridge? So if you do draft a Anthony Richardson, who you and I both believe needs a little bit of work before he can take that next step to the NFL. He has fantastic physical abilities, but maybe he's not quite, quote, NFL ready.
Right.
That you can have Andy Dalton play for the first half of the year, the whole first year, and he's not going to get super upset when it's like, all right, now it is time to hand over the reins to the next quarterback. I think Andy Dalton has become the new Ryan Fitzpatrick, where it's you bring in Andy to teach them because he's been around long enough and he's been on enough teams that he knows how things work. And then it's like, all right, kid, now it is your turn. So I think that opens the doors a little bit to go with it.
With that being said, no, don't bank on Andy Dalton. I just don't like. I mean,
well, I know you don't like him. But it also depends on if the Carolina Panthers feel like they can win the division this year,
right?
Or if it matters to them that they win the division this year. If it is, we are trading this stuff to get our future quarterback for the next decade. And we're not worried. We could go 0-17 next year. It's not going to bug us. Throwing Andy Dalton into the Wolves while he's teaching a young quarterback who's not going out there and losing any confidence that he may have had, could definitely help them. Robert says it reminds him what they said about Mahomes. Mahomes sat behind Smith for the first 15 games, came in to play one game his rookie year, and then came in and took over, and we know how good Patrick Mahomes has been. So it's I think Carolina is doing a great job of doing everything they can to give them the most amount of options that they can have going into this draft. It would not even shock me if then they traded this first pick and dropped down to say 3.
Well, and what I'm doing right now, I am looking at their depth chart right now, and it just, you look at how much help they need everywhere around.
Yeah.
They need a receiver. They need, I mean, you've got Andy Dalton, you've got Matt Corral, you got PJ Walker.
But none of those matter.
None of those matter. But you've got Ian Thomas.
Ian Thomas was good last year.
He was good. You've got former lineman Bradley Bozeman, who former Raven.
Yeah, but again, it's just showing that
they need a lot of help in there.
Yeah, so they're not looking at next year as we're going to win.
Yeah.
It's we're going to get our young quarterback and we're going to rebuild. I'm sure I haven't looked at their cap space situation over the next couple of years, but getting rid of DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey could not have hurt their cap situation over the next several years. So I think they're going to take some steps forward, and they're going to try to be a team.
They're going to groom their quarterback.
That are in 2 or 3 years are going to be an improved team. It's kind of what the Jets and Robert Saleh have tried to do. They weren't trying to win 2 years ago. Last year, they would like to have won, but Zach Wilson turned out to not be so great. But the rest of the team really melded together, and now hopefully they get a great quarterback and they move forward.
It looks like they have $21 million in cap space.
Well, this year I'm talking.
This year.
Yeah, I want the year after, and the year after that, when they care.
Right.
Because look what the Chicago Bears are doing now.
So
They set themselves up to have $90 million of cap space and all those draft picks.
They've got 90 million, almost 91 million in cap space for next year.
So you go out and get this young quarterback to be the foundation of your new team, and then you go crazy in free agency next year. It makes sense.
Good point.
All right. Real quickly, LCSC baseball will just kind of remind you that if you live in the area and you have not went to a LCSC Warrior baseball game, you're running out of opportunities in the regular season. It's crazy to think middle of March that is the case, but it is. They're 15-3 on the year. They've won their last 9. And the first in-season poll came out on March 8th, and the Warriors are 3rd. They were 2nd because they were the runners-up last year, so they're still right up there. But this is the second to last homestand of the regular season. They take on Corbin, a couple of doubleheaders on Saturday at noon, Sunday at 11 a.m., and then 4 of their 5 final series are on the road. So they'll hit the road, I believe, for 1 series, come back for 1, and then
they're on the
road the rest of the way. And then, of course, they host the opening rounds in the World Series. And stuff.
I've got the Saturday doubleheader, and then that with the whole thing changing with Eastern Oregon 2 weeks ago, that was a April 15th game, 15th and 16th, and that got all changed. So
things got all sorts of goofed.
Come out and watch them.
Yes.
If you want to be highly impressed with what these guys can do,
it's a good team.
It's a very good team.
Very fun team. It's again one of those situations where we always wonder what the World Series would look like if the Warriors didn't qualify. But this team has a very good chance of qualifying. But with that opening round, there's always work to do. All right, let's get back to the brackets real quick, and then we got a sports-related draft. So Robert and Eric and whoever else is out there, don't go anywhere because we're going to need your help. But let's go top left bracket, the South region.
Okay.
By the way, Eric never did say who he had in the Midwest bracket. And Robert Taylor, you haven't told us anything about your bracket, sir. What's going on there?
It's already busted.
That's probably.
Sorry,
Alabama's the 1 seed. Arizona's the 2. Baylor is the 3 seed. And Virginia is your 4 seed. And I will just say straight up right now, this is my bracket of explosion. I wish chalk for the most part. I don't know what the opposite of chalk is, but that was the South region.
I was very shocked when I saw your upset.
One of upset.
One of. Yeah, that was the one the
one
that you put there. Yeah.
Please hold. Go ahead.
I was very shocked with it. I think you were saying for most of the games, and I'm this way. 8, 9 are coin flips all the time. And for
that's
me,
why they're built for.
I think the best game that I'm looking forward to is watching Creighton and what Creighton has done this year. All right, let's put them up against the Wolfpack. I like that. I think that is probably going to be my most entertaining game coming up out of this matchup, because you look at, Bama's going to run away with it. Arizona should crush Princeton. Utah State, that's my upset. I'm taking Utah State over Missouri.
Okay.
So that's my upset.
Is that your biggest upset?
That's my biggest one out of there, because I'm laughing about yours that you have. And so, what do you mean? Let me go back and give.
He's got to go look at his bracket. All right. So I also have Utah State beating Missouri. I have a 10 over a 7. Let's see. I do have Creighton, the 6 seed, beating NC State, the 11 seed. So that they're safe there. All right. San Diego State over Charleston. That's cool. 4 seed Virginia. Nah. Give me Furman. 13 seed over a 4 seed. Furman
13
over Virginia, but that's not all. The 3 seeded Baylor Bears. The team that absolutely crushed Gonzaga a couple of years ago in the national championship game. Sorry to bring that up to my dad if he's watching for some reason. Give me the 14th seed, UC Santa Barbara.
Wow.
For 2 reasons. Do you know the nickname of UC Santa Barbara?
Not off the top of my head, no.
They're the Gauchos. I want to root for the Gauchos.
The Gauchos.
On top of that, their top 6 scorers all shot over 46%. They have a lot of senior leadership. They're a team that really struggled early on in the year, have completely started rolling. And this is a team that I feel is like that perfect benchmark of a Cinderella team in the tournament.
Okay.
They shoot well. They have pretty good defense. They have a lot of senior leadership. And they have a cool nickname that people are going to get behind. Florida Gulf Coast a few years ago, we had that with Slam Dunk City or whatever they called themselves, and they were a lot of fun to watch. And America got behind them as they won a few games.
What about Sister? Who was it? Sister
was the Chicago,
the
Illinois, or whatever? Loyola, yeah,
Chicago Loyola.
Mm-hmm.
Sister, whoever.
Yeah, that worked out really well too. I don't know if they have an old lady following them or not, but we will see when they play their game on Friday.
If you're the old lady that follows this team,
but UC Santa Barbara is making it to the Sweet 16. The 14 seed UC Santa Barbara is going to the Sweet 16, and if they do not, that was a stupid upset pick by me. But if they do, then I win the whole bracket.
So right now, that one is Baylor is favored by 10.5.
Well, that sucks for Baylor.
Well, here's the thing: UC Santa Barbara has a record of 27-7.
Mm-hmm.
The Baylor Bears are 22-10. So it will be an interesting game on Friday morning at 10:30 on TNT.
I'll be watching as I get that pick wrong. Eric said he had Arizona in the South. I don't. I have Arizona making it to the Elite Eight, but I have them losing to the top seed Alabama.
Yeah.
What about you?
It'll be interesting. For me, I have the Alabama making it all the way to the Final Four. Elite Eight, I've got Alabama and Baylor. So for me,
well, it's going to suck for you on Friday when Baylor gets knocked out by the Gauchos.
Well, here's the thing. I have a 1 seed in this bracket, a 2 seed, a 3 seed, and a 5 seed. Just like I did on the other side.
Boring.
1, 2, and 5.
Boring.
1, 2, 3, 5.
All right. It is now time for our sports-related draft.
I win.
You don't ever win. You don't ever win. I've won 20. You've won 11. Denny Grubb has even won 1. Eric would have won 1 last week if you would have came up with something for him. But I have won 7 of the last 8. But it was your topic.
What we need to do is have these guys, Eric or somebody, throw us a topic and we do it.
I do like that. A chat topic would be fun.
There you go.
For sure. All right. It is your topic, sir. Go ahead.
So you threw a little hint out when we were going to wait, but after last week, one of the favorite tournaments with the Players Championship, we're 3 weeks out into the Masters. That is where I sit in front of the TV. I love watching the Masters, love watching it. I thought, what are some of the best holes in golf?
Yes.
And then just seeing the area around it, the notoriety of each hole and all that. So that is our topic this week. What is the best hole in golf?
Which is so hard to do. Because, I mean, I'm not as big of a golf fan as you, but I do enjoy the sport of golf. It's gotten to the point now, a lot of my YouTube recommendations, because I've gotten into Rick Shields, who has been going all over the place. The good guys or whatever that have a lot of fun doing it. There's another group that I just started watching that just have a lot of fun and do all these different challenges while they play at courses. So they play at these crazy courses, and some of them are beautiful. So it's really difficult to go through. And especially because I knew that I had the first pick because you came up with the topic.
Right.
But I knew you came up with this topic because of TPC Sawgrass and the 17th hole there, the island green and everything. But I just couldn't go that route. Because my favorite hole, going back playing all the old Tiger Woods games back like on the PS2, and just my favorite tournament is actually the Open Championship. Though timing wise, sometimes it's tough for me to watch it. But when they go to all these, I like the old timey golf where they're playing in the rain and the grass is 17 feet tall
and the wind is 20 miles an hour,
and it's all over the place. And that's where St. Andrews comes in. You go to the old course, you go to the 17th hole, which is they call it the road hole. Because there's a road that goes around the green, and this is England golf. The road counts. If you land on the road, you don't get relief like you do here in weak old America. You got to hit it off that road. They have this brick wall behind the green. If you land up against that brick wall, do you get relief? Absolutely not. Go look up the shot by, was was it Angel Jimenez, where he bounced it off of this wall and put it on the green. Absolutely insane. But the craziest thing about this hole, it's a par 4, 495 yards, which is huge, is you have to hit it over a hotel off your tee box. And they were like, well, the hotel's kind of off to the side, and we want it to be interesting. So they just built a wall. So you're just looking at a wall on your tee shot. I'd have no idea how I would feel, especially with my slice. I would yell at the hotel people to get down for sure. But it's just one of the most iconic holes in all of sports, and just the history of that place.
That hole would play into your swing quite well.
Maybe.
Because you would eight left, and it will make its way right.
But would I hit it far enough to get by the hotel is the question, or did my slice just kill a person?
I don't know.
All right,
I have to say this though. I think 17 and 18 at St. Andrews has to be in the top 5 finishing 2 holes ever, because I love 18 looking back into the clubhouse or the castle. It looks like gorgeous view of that. So I mean, not angry with that pick at all. Not angry with that pick. I think it's good. For me, I have to take it. And yes, I'm taking Island Green.
That's fair.
It's so awesome to sit and watch it. We'll talk a little bit more what happened this last week.
Don't hit the stats. We don't need the stats. We have 30 minutes left, and we have an hour left of the show.
But I mean, it's a short 137, 26 yards wide. I mean, that's it.
Yep.
And the way they place that hole all week long, you never know what's going to happen.
I know I don't want you to go through all these stats real quick, but did you see the videos of before the tournament where they would have amateurs come play rounds, but they had the tour box blocked off and just have their reactions standing there getting ready to take those shots? Did you see that video?
Oh yeah, they showed a little bit of it on one of the telecasts.
Oh yeah, so good.
It's great. I think the biggest thing, and the only one stat that, and I know they look at it, is on the ground. It might be 5-6 miles an hour, but you get up above, it's blowing 12, 13, 14, 15 up under. But then having the grandstands all wrapped around and getting out there, and you watched Rhea walking up after his ace from the other day, high-fiving everybody along the way. I mean, you're right there with them. So for me, I think that's one of the best holes in golf there. So
it's a very, very cool hole. We have one in Coeur d'Alene.
Well,
and the one in Coeur d'Alene, you actually have to use a boat to get to.
It's too expensive.
I want to see the pros play that hole.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
There you go. My second round pick, Pebble Beach, another one of those golf courses I absolutely love to play on the Tiger Woods games. I haven't watched like a full round of golf at Pebble Beach in a while. Like I'll watch the pro-ams here and there, but I could probably remember over 12 of those holes by heart just for how much I played at Pebble Beach on those old Tiger Woods games, and it's been 20 years. But the 8th hole at Pebble Beach to me is absolutely iconic. I was between this one and the par 3 that is the 7th hole. Is the par 3 where it's like straight down. Yep. I feel like it's more of a down shot than out kind of a deal. But the 8th hole to me is more iconic because it's just par 4, 416. But if you hit your drive too far, you hit it off a cliff.
Right.
There's this giant cliff in between the fairway and the hole, to the point where they've had to change the rules of this course because Jordan Spieth last year was right up against the edge of this cliff to hit his shot. And if you haven't seen it, it's hilarious to watch him hit it and then just run backwards. So they've kind of made the out of bounds a bit farther away from the cliff just to save people.
Right.
I could not imagine being up there on top of that cliff getting ready to hit a shot, and you're just seeing like the waves crashing up against the golf course and stuff, and thinking, if I slip, it's over. Just an amazing looking golf hole, and adding it to the challenge as well. So that's my second pick.
Another great course. That would be one. That's one on my bucket list to go and play, but they're so expensive. So for me, it has to go. My second pick has to go to one of those iconic holes in Amen Corner, Augusta National coming up. It has to be the 12th, the short par 3. The biggest part about that, you've got Ray Creek in front, 3 deep bunkers around. There's only one safe spot if you don't get it on the green, and that is off to the right just a little bit. But the beauty of walking down in and you're hitting into this area, and it's so luscious and green and all that. So
I guess it's always just ridiculously beautiful.
So I think that one for me,
So clear something up for me, because I did not look up this hole after you had picked it. I looked at a couple of the stuff when I was going through trying to figure out if I wanted to pick them. Is this the par 3 that Tiger Woods made his famous chip at? Or is this that par 3 where if you hit it in a certain part of the green, it has that slow trickle down effect and everything kind of filters towards the hole? Which one is this one?
That's that one.
It's this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the one where the guy like skipped the ball on the creek and got it. Okay.
Got it.
I know there's 2 famous par 3s. Mostly the other par 3s famous then obviously for the chip shot, but I couldn't think of which one was which. So that makes sense. Okay. My last pick, and cheating a little bit, because is this a crazy hole? Like, is it a difficult hole? No. If you're playing there just on a normal day, like it's not tournament weekend or anything, you're just playing there in July
having
with
a good
your
time,
buddies.
Yeah.
Is it a hole that you're going to go, that was fun? No. But for the tournament that they play at TPC Scottsdale, the 16th hole, which is the most raucous college feeling atmosphere you can ever have on a PGA, where they want you to be quiet. This hole is the exact opposite. It's like this little amphitheater that they've built with all these stands, people going absolutely nuts. If you haven't watched the Netflix series that I'm blanking the name of now for the golf shows,
Full Swing,
with Joel Damon getting in trouble because he and his
Harry Riggs
partner both took their shirts off because they really got into the moment. It's like, if I hit this putt, I'm taking my shirt off, and that beers are flying everywhere. It's just so different than the rest of the PGA. It's iconic for the atmosphere they build.
Give Eric Watkins fire for his live, because that's exactly where he'll go with this.
Does Liv play there?
Well, no, but Liv does all of their major, hooping and hollering.
Do they? Don't try to get me into this Liv stuff.
I know.
I'm trying to avoid it. All right, last pick.
All right, last one. I'm going back to an iconic course, and I'm going to go Pebble.
Yep.
I'm going to the best finishing hole in all of golf, and that is the number 18, 543 yards, 2 trees that you have to play around.
Only 2?
Only 2. You have to play to the left of the one tree off your drive, and then you've got one that hangs over the right at the green itself. So I mean, there's a lot of strategy playing into this. Do you lay up? Do you try to go for it in 2? With it being 543, it is reachable for the pros. But big thing today, I shared it with you. There's been so much rain going on that there is now a sinkhole that they are dealing with on 18.
That just shows you it's a terrible hole.
I saw a couple of Twitter videos today of the water, and if you're not familiar with what's going on in California with the rain and stuff, it is nuts. They actually had golf carts caught on the beach, stuck in the water.
Yeah. By the way, I just have to say this, and hopefully Haley's not listening. The PGA game comes out next week, and now I'm really tempted to get this game.
I haven't told Denise yet.
Depending on what courses come out with it, but I have to get Resident Evil Remake, and I just bought the wrestling game, and MLB The Show comes out in 2 weeks, so I don't need the PGA game, and I probably won't buy it. But talking about these courses, if they're in this game, I kind of want to play it.
I like playing TPC Sawgrass.
Hey, don't.
I like playing TPC Sawgrass on the Tiger Woods 20. Yeah. I think I have 21.
Yeah.
And it's still really
good. I have to look at what courses are on there. I have an old PGA game from a couple years ago. Maybe you get back into that. All right. Let us know who ended up winning this draft. This was a fun one to do because there's hundreds of thousands.
We didn't even talk about the church pews. And
that I was so tempted.
We didn't even talk about postage stamp.
The one of postage stamp was a really good one. There's some Irish courses that are just ridiculously beautiful. And there's so many different holes.
The one where postage stamp, I was talking with one of my teachers, Mark Nicholas, about it today. $472 American money to play at the course with postseason.
Jeez, absolutely, just crazy. All right, so I took the road hole, the 17th. It's the old St. Andrews course. The 8th at Pebble Beach with the crazy cliff, and then the ridiculous stadium surroundings of the 16th hole at TPC Scottsdale. Robert took the Island Green at the 17th at TPC Sawgrass, which I knew was the inspiration
Yep.
for this list, but I could not go away from St. Andrews. He took the 12th, the Golden Bell at Augusta, really fun par 3, and then the 18th at Pebble Beach. So let us know who won this sports related draft, and then we will see by the end of this show, which is 20 minutes from now.
We got 20 minutes to get through a lot of stuff.
All right, let's really quickly get to the East bracket, the final bracket here.
All right.
On the men's tournament. Purdue's your 1 seed, Marquette's your 2, Kansas State is your 3, and Tennessee is your 4. I don't go as crazy in this one, to the point that all 8 of the better seeds end up winning the first round. For me, my biggest upset is the 8 seed Memphis is going to knock out Purdue in the second round. It's the only number 1 seed I don't have making it to the Elite 8. So I have Marquette winning this bracket.
Yeah, you and I have pretty well agreed with it. I'm taking Kansas State, but I have Kentucky knocking them off in the Sweet 16 or round of 2. So for me, I've got Purdue going all the way down. So Purdue, Tennessee, the 4 seed, Marquette, the 2 seed, but then I have Kentucky upsetting Marquette in the Sweet 16. So
there you go.
For me, I've got Purdue and Kentucky there in the Elite 8.
And it does look like Eric will take Robert in the sports-related draft. He had to get golf to try to snap my winning streak. We'll see if anyone else votes on that. But there were too many good ones to take. So I'm taking Marquette in my Final Four. Did you say yours?
My Final Four, I'm going Alabama, Houston, Purdue.
No, I just meant you're in
Purdue,
this bracket.
Purdue.
And then I need to go back up. Eric also had Marquette in his Final Four from this region. The World Baseball Classic is going on right now. Updating scores. The Dominican Republic won it in 7 innings, 10-0 over Israel. So they are now 2-1 overall. And Great Britain and Mexico, the last game today, is right now on the bottom of the second inning, and they are scoreless right now. Mexico 1-1 in the tournament. Great Britain 1-2. So we have one more day of pool play, and right now the pool A and B are done.
Right.
How about pool A? Cuba, Italy, Netherlands, Panama, and the Chinese Taipei all finished 2-2, which is really awesome to see. Cuba and Italy will advance based off of run differential and all the other fun stuff. Japan, my pick, cruised through Pool B. They went 4-0. Australia has looked pretty good. They went 3-1. And Eric's pick, Korea, 2-2.
Yep.
They are eliminated. Czech Republic went 1-3. China 0-4. The other 2 pools are going on right now. Again, they have one more game left to go. Right now in Pool C, it looks like Canada and the USA are in those top 2 spots. They're both 2-1. Again, Mexico playing right now at 1-1, and Colombia and Great Britain looking on the outside, looking in. Great Britain, I believe this is their last game.
Yes.
They have the day off tomorrow, so they absolutely have to win and get some help, I would believe. But with those uniforms, they should be eliminated anyways. Oh my goodness.
Don't get me started.
And then Pool D, Venezuela looks like they will move on. They're 3-0. Puerto Rico is 2-1, as is the Dominican Republic. They are 2-1. Israel now 1-2, and Nicaragua absolutely out. They are 0-4, and they are done for good. I did say Venezuela has moved on. They play Israel tomorrow. You got to think they're going to win that game and move on. That is Richie's pick to win the whole thing. Venezuela. I talked to him on Sunday. Also tomorrow, if you can't sleep, Australia and Cuba play at 3 a.m. Why does Australia play? Or is that part of the quarterfinals? But they have, I gotcha.
Yeah, I think it's part of the quarterfinals.
Okay.
It's in there. Yep.
It just got moved over.
Yep.
Okay. So Australia and Cuba play in the quarterfinals at 3 a.m., which is ridiculous. Venezuela will take on Israel. Mexico versus Canada is at noon. Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic at 4 p.m.
That's
and
the one that
USA.
matters.
That's a big one.
That's a huge one.
And USA versus Colombia at 7 p.m. All of those are Pacific time. Yes, Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic at 4 p.m. Winner moves on, losers eliminated. So that will be a big one to watch. GB, who's GB? Oh, Great Britain. Yeah, okay. I'm full on cricket territory. I don't care if they play baseball or not. Just come out with a cool jersey,
They don't have any money. That's why.
not some press on stuff.
They don't have
It's an
money.
absolutely messed. All right, believe it or not, real quick.
Believe it.
I don't believe it.
Which one is it? Believe it or not, World Baseball Classic Edition. The Great Britain uniforms are a total disgrace.
Yes, they are.
It's
garbage.
It's hilarious. And
Garbage.
they're falling apart.
You watch the T fall off on the mound.
It's just it's so dumb.
They
Absolutely
don't
dumb.
have money.
Believe
That's
it
the
or
problem.
not, the World Baseball Classic should have used the new Major League Baseball rules.
I think everybody's still coming into it, so I no, I don't think so yet. Not yet.
I really think so. There are times where these games start to drag a little.
Mhm.
I'm one that are really going. I think I'm going to really like these new rules. Watching a little bit of spring training here and there. As once we get to the actual stadiums and the clock is not giant right in your
Right in
face,
yeah.
I think it'll be really interesting. I am a little disappointing. Yeah, they will use it the next time. I'm with Robert here where it might have been a little too soon to just throw it out there. They want to use it in spring training to get used to
Right.
it. But now all these players
Yeah.
are going to have to come back and get reused to it as their seasons get ready to start. And the last one, real quick, believe it or not, the World Baseball Classic has been a huge success.
100%. Yes. I'm watching some of them. It is hard watching a couple of the teams play the way they did. I mean, you had a major mercy rule at 22 to 2 or something like that in 5 innings.
I'm glad they have the mercy rules for those. I will say it is not expanded as much as they were hoping. But you look at especially Pool D, those crowds are insane. Like they are really into it. Obviously, Japan has a good baseball background, so they get into it as well. Obviously, they're not a raucous crowd because that's just not the Japanese culture.
Yeah, but how about the guy that was blowing on his horn the entire time in where was that one? Chinese Taipei, where they were at constantly, and they kept cutting into him. And I mean, he's supporting everybody. So I mean, it was awesome.
So Pool D is having a blast watching these. I'm with Eric. There's definitely some tweaks. But this was a tournament I thought was going to completely fail. I thought this was some niche, stupid thing that they were only doing because the Olympics didn't want baseball anymore. So they're like, all right, we'll do this World Baseball Classic instead. Getting pro players into it and letting them represent their countries has definitely helped. And especially with this big rise in Japanese baseball over the last few years, we see it with the Latin American countries have always been really big into baseball. So now being able to kind of have this country battle before the season starts is great.
And you get to see some of these really good minor leaguers that, for U.S. minor leaguers, but have played for their country, and they could walk on. I think my biggest thing I have an issue with, I love Freddie Freeman. I love a couple of those guys, but listen, you weren't born there. You should not be playing for a country that is not where you were born at. And he's playing for Team Canada. There's a couple others.
But is his family from Canada? Is that how it all works?
There's something with his mom. I mean,
but that works with the Olympics and the World Cup too. It's a heritage thing, I think. So, but you know what? Spread out the talent, and honestly, I don't have an issue with any of that. But which do you like more? The minor leaguers that make their names for themselves on some of these countries that don't have the big name stuff, or you watch a game and you're like, he's still alive? There's been a couple of times that I've turned it on. I'm like, I haven't heard of that guy for years.
Who was it last night pitching for Canada?
Chassin?
That hasn't pitched in like 2 years. His wife has died.
And he was actually horrible in his last year too.
And come out and pitched a couple of innings for Canada last night.
Oh, not for that. That wasn't the Canada game.
So the one that was last night was the Canada game, and he was pitching for his kids who had never watched him pitch, and his wife had passed away, and so on one hand, coming out of retirement.
How about Gary Sanchez being on his country team, but he still hasn't signed anywhere.
Yeah,
he's still a free agent. There you go,
dude.
I love it.
Mark DeRosa and Ken Griffey Jr.
Richie and I talked about that. I don't care about Ken Griffey and Andy Pettit as a pitching coach. Right. I mean, that's cool spectacles. Mark DeRosa is going to be a major league baseball manager next year, and I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
The dude knows his stuff. I told Richie I don't want it to happen just because I like him on the MLB show. It was MLB Today or whatever. I don't watch the show live, but I get the clips on YouTube and stuff, and he breaks down people so well, and he's going to be a great manager.
Aaron Boone, soon to be gone. Mark DeRosa.
I'm down. Absolutely down. I just realized we have not even got to the NL East.
We got an NL East, and we still have the women's side.
I apologize to the women in the Seattle brackets. We're not going to give you a ton of time. Stanford was the 1 seed in one bracket. Virginia Tech is the 1 seed on the other bracket. Neither of them moved to my final 4. Nope. I go back-to-back 2 seeds. Give me Iowa and UConn.
I'm the same way. Iowa on the one side, but I'm going to take Virginia Tech and knocking off UConn in the Elite 8.
See, I was having fun having these debates going, we just have tournament stuff to talk about. No, we have this division to talk about. Oh, boy. Let's get into it real quick. Atlanta won the NL East over the Mets. They had the same record last year, 101-61. Neither of them were able to win their first round. Atlanta lost to Philadelphia, who was a wild card team at 87-75, who made the surprise run all the way to the World Series before losing to Houston 4-2. Miami was 4th place at 69-93 and Washington at 55-107. Some of the big moves, Trey Turner to the Phillies. The Mets do lose Jason DeGrom, but they get Verlander instead. So got a little older, but the talent is still there. And Atlanta traded for Sean Murphy, the catcher, for Oakland. Give me your division MVP.
For me, it's got to be the big move with what Philadelphia does. Put Trey Turner in there. I think he's going to be a big catalyst for that team.
I had a issue trying to come up with an MVP here because there is ridiculous talent in this division, which is why I get why some people are saying this is the best division, because the talent pool here is ridiculous, but Washington is garbage and Miami's not much better. But those top 3 teams have a lot of ridiculous talent, and trying to figure out which one of those was going to be the big step-up player was difficult. But I'm going to give it to Pete Alonso. He always wins the home run derbies, but I think he's going to really break out and could even be the NL MVP when all is said and done. Who is your breakout star for the NL East?
I'm going to go with Bryson Stott. I think he's going to be a good part of this team too. Last year, 10 home runs in a small season. Yeah, the batting average is down a little bit, but he does draw a lot of walks. I think this is
big for a young guy.
This is going to be a huge part of his game, and so I'm looking forward to see what he does. And his defense is pretty stout. So I think it's 7 total errors, I think, last year. So I think he's going to be good playing there at second base.
Mine is, I'm hoping nobody in my fantasy draft is listening, because this is a guy that I'm going to go after for sure in a week and a half or whenever our draft is. I forget. But Edward Cabrera, starting pitcher for the Miami Marlins. The Marlins, again, not going to be a great team, so I'm not going to get a lot of wins from this guy. He's kind of that Sandy Alcantara kind of situation there. Went 6-4, 3.01 ERA last year, had 75 strikeouts and just under 72 innings pitched. But what really stood out to me, 1.07 whip, and that's with 33 walks on the year. He did give up some walks, but was really tough to hit last year. His fastball can hit 100. He has a changeup of 93 miles an hour. That's his changeup is still over 90. And then his curveball and slider are faster than the league average. And have some good movement on it. He's just 24 years old. I really think that he's going to take that next step. Miami does do a really good job of elevating pitchers, and then they move on to teams that actually matter. But I really think that Edward Cabrera is going to take that big step for the Marlins. And by big step, he's going to win like 10 games because he's not going to get any run support, but he's going to look great. All right, give me your standing order.
I think you and I are going to agree with 4 and 5. It's going to be Miami and Washington in that order. I think Atlanta takes a step back, but with the trade with Trey Turner, I think it bounces them up a little bit. So I am going to go Atlanta 3, Philly 2, and New York 1.
Yeah, it was really tough for me with Philadelphia because they did make it to the World Series and they made themselves better in the offseason. But Atlanta and New York just were separated so much in that regular season last year that I do now think it's a 3-team race. But I will give it to the Mets, and then I'll go Atlanta and Philadelphia. I think all 3 teams win over 90 games. All 3 teams might win over 95 games. And when we talk about it in 2 weeks, I think both teams make the playoff, or all 3 teams will make the postseason once again. Next week, we will finish out our division previews with the West. So the NL and AL West, we'll be able to talk about Roberts, Seattle Mariners, talk about the Dodgers, and see if they're going to roll again or if the Padres are finally going to live up to their potential. Real quick, just running through everything else at the end of the show. Men's tennis lost a pair of matches to Montana. They face Idaho on Saturday. The women are finally back into action after their long trip to Louisiana a couple weeks ago. They're in Oregon now, or they will be in Oregon, as they take on Lewis and Clark College on Thursday and Pacific on Friday. And then they host Iowa State on Monday. High school baseball and high school spring sports are really getting underway. LC baseball started last weekend. They split their 2 games up in Spokane. They defeated Central Valley 10-1 and then lost to Southridge 12-4. Elliott Taylor and Bryce Benching both with home runs. Carson Kolb was great on the mound. He had 7 strikeouts in their win. Their first and only home games of March are on Saturday when they host Lake City. First game is at noon. I'll have the action on the river. And then they're on the road the rest of March. And then they've got some good home dates in the month of April. Real quick with Clarkson.
Clarkson Adams open up action tomorrow for the baseball team against Grangeville, 4:00 at Adams Field. And then they've got 1 game on Saturday versus Deer Park. Softball opens up on Thursday. They take on Orofino up at Lincoln Middle School with that one. High school track, we did talk about that. Lewiston and Clarkson open up on Friday with the Sweeney Invitational at 11 a.m. at Sweeney at Bowler Bowl, I think is what they still call it now. So track meet at 11 o'clock if you're into watching track. And the Clarkson boys and girls golf team open action tomorrow at the Walla Walla Invite.
There you go. All right. Let's get our champions real quick.
All right.
On the women's side, I had South Carolina, Iowa, UConn, and Villanova in my Final Four. Give me South Carolina and UConn, the old powerhouses, in the championship game, and South Carolina to repeat as champions.
I had South Carolina, Iowa, Indiana, and Virginia Tech. I have both of the finalists coming out of the Greenville side. So I have South Carolina and Indiana and give it to South Carolina for the women.
On the men's side, I had 2 1s and 2 2s, Alabama, Kansas, Marquette, and Texas. Give me the 2 1s to advance, Alabama and Kansas. And the Jayhawks would be the first team since Florida in 2006 and 2007 to repeat.
I didn't mean to do it, but I did it just because I have all 4 number 1s coming into the Final Four, and which I know that just jinxed my bracket. I have Bama beating Purdue and Houston beating Kansas. Alabama will knock off Houston in the finals.
Real quick, other sports, Clearwater Combat. There's 11 scheduled fights on that card.
You have your tickets. We have second row seats, sir.
I'm very excited. We've been talking about wanting to go to this for forever, and now I finally get to go to one of these. Very excited. Aussie Rules football is this week.
Yes.
And Geelong and Western, Eric's team, and Hawthorne, my team, who's going to be battling for the wooden spoon again, all on FS2 this week. So go check those out. I'm the only one that doesn't have to stay up past midnight to watch my game. They're at 9:20 p.m. Pacific time, as they're going to get crushed by Essendon. But we will have Aussie rules football to talk about next week, so we have to find more time than 2 minutes to talk about it. Scotty Scheffler absolutely destroyed the Players' Championship. He ended up winning by 5 strokes. And William Byron wins back-to-back races as he uses a lake race caution to win at Phoenix. Kevin Harvick was leading, and the caution messed things up, and Atlanta is the next race. There you go. We got through it. 2 hours, jam-packed show. We cut some stuff. We made some stuff fit. We had a lot of conversations. It was fun.
Lots of stuff going on. And if you are active this week, you've got Lewiston High School baseball on Saturday. We got LCSC baseball here on Saturday. Local baseball, softball going on. Bantam Booster auction on Friday night.
I told you to move it.
Lots of stuff going on. So get involved, get out and go do something.
Absolutely. The weather's getting better. But
yes,
that's going to do it for this show. It was a lot of fun. We'll be back next week with more NFL offseason, MLB, AL, and NL West previews and Aussie rules football. But until then, that's Robert. I'm Randy, and we are